the galaxy had long written off Earth as a backwater world. Humanity, small and insignificant, had been isolated from the complex political games of the larger, more powerful empires. The Korda Dominion, a ruthless empire that spanned dozens of star systems, and the Orvian Collective, a coalition of technologically advanced races, saw humans as nothing more than primitive creatures, fit for little more than labor or extermination. For years, humanity struggled on its own, isolated from the galactic elite. But in the shadows, beneath the radar of the ruling powers, there were whispers of defiance. One such whisper was Captain Arya Volkov. A woman of strong will and even stronger convictions, she was a war veteran who had witnessed the fall of her family at the hands of the Korda Dominion. The devastation of her childhood home, Earth, had shaped her into a fierce leader, determined to see humanity rise from the ashes. Captain Volkov stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her battle-worn warship, watching the stars streak past as they made their way to the edge of the galaxy. Her crew was a ragtag collection of survivors, former soldiers, engineers, and scientists, humanity's last defenders, operating from the shadows, always outmatched, always underestimated. It was supposed to be a simple mission: deliver supplies to a nearby colony, forgotten by the galactic powers. But as they neared the system, Volkov's sensors pinged with an alarming signal. Two warships, massive in size and brimming with firepower, were locked in a standoff. They were Korda and Orvian, ancient enemies locked in a bitter struggle for dominance. The Resolute was small, but Volkov knew that humans were resourceful. As they moved closer, the Resolute's sensors revealed a troubling sight: a civilian transport ship caught in the middle of the two warring factions. The humans on board had no chance of escaping on their own. Volkov's mind raced. Her crew had always been told to avoid the affairs of the galaxy's elite powers, but she couldn't stand by and do nothing. The lives of innocent humans were at stake. "Prepare to engage," she ordered, her voice steady, though her heart pounded in her chest. Her crew was quick to respond. The Resolute was equipped with a fleet of fighter ships. Humans didn't have the luxury of large war fleets like the Korda or Orvian. But what they lacked in firepower, they made up for in cunning. The human fighters launched, maneuvering in the shadows of the two massive warships. Captain Volkov's strategy was simple: use the chaos between the two factions to their advantage. They attacked the Orvian Collective's ships with precision, targeting weak points in their shields and weapon systems. The Orvian ships were caught off guard, unable to react fast enough. The Resolute's fighters struck fast, and the Korda warships were so focused on their enemies that they didn't notice the human attack. The battle was over in minutes. The Orvian ships limped away, damaged but still intact, while the Korda forces, unable to keep up with the unexpected human tactics, retreated. In the aftermath, Volkov stood on the bridge of the Resolute, watching the wreckage of the battlefield. She had not only saved the civilian ship but had proven one thing to the galaxy: humanity was not to be underestimated. "We are more than what they think we are," Volkov said, her voice filled with quiet determination. "We are the underdogs who are going to change everything." And thus, the spark of rebellion had been lit. The galaxy's elite had made a grave mistake by underestimating humanity. The battle against the Korda Dominion and the Orvian Collective was a turning point for humanity. The small, scrappy victory of the Resolute and its crew had spread like wildfire throughout the galaxy. The elite powers were scrambling to cover up the embarrassment of being outsmarted by the humans. To them, Earth was an insignificant planet, not worth the effort of even a full-scale invasion. But they had underestimated humanity's resilience, and that mistake was starting to haunt them. Captain Arya Volkov paced the bridge of the Resolute, her mind racing with the consequences of their unexpected success. It wasn't just the victory itself, it was the message they had sent to the galaxy: humanity was not weak. It was capable. It was resourceful. It was dangerous. "You did it, Captain," said Lieutenant Kellen, her second-in-command, who had been monitoring the communication channels. "We've got messages flooding in from several factions, small and large. They want to talk." "Talk?" Volkov raised an eyebrow, her arms crossed. "What do they want?" Kellen looked at her tablet screen and then back at Volkov. They want to ally with us. The Orvian collective isn't happy about the blow to their pride, and the Korda Dominion is in full damage control mode. But the ones who are reaching out are the smaller factions. Pirates, mercenaries, even a few of the neutral systems. They see us as a beacon of hope. A strange mix of excitement and suspicion ran through Volkov's veins. The message was clear: humanity wasn't alone anymore. There were others out there who saw the potential in their fight. The galaxy's elite powers had underestimated them, but these smaller factions had seen the spark of rebellion. They had seen how humanity had stood up to the biggest powers in the galaxy and survived. She glanced at the map of the galaxy on the wall, pinpointing the locations of these messages. Some were from pirate fleets that had long lived outside the laws of the galactic powers. Others were from star systems that had been oppressed for centuries by the Dominion and Collective. They were tired of the tyranny, and they were ready to fight. Set up a meeting with them, Volkov ordered. Let's see who's willing to put their ships where their mouths are. It didn't take long for a response. The first to reply was a pirate fleet, the Black Reavers, led by the infamous Captain Zornak. Zornak was known across the galaxy for his cunning and ruthlessness, but his fleet was feared for its unconventional tactics, much like humanity's own. He had no love for the Korda or the Orvian collective, and he made it clear that he had no intention of letting his pirates be controlled by anyone, least of all the galaxy's so-called elite. "We've been watching you, Captain Volkov," Zornak's gravelly voice echoed through the comms channel. "You've got guts. You've done what no one else dared to. That's the kind of fire we need. I've got a fleet of my own, and I've been waiting for the right moment to make my move. If you're willing to fight back against the big dogs, then I'm in." The message was blunt, but the offer was clear. Zornak was offering his fleet, a powerful force of ships known for their ability to disrupt larger military operations. His ships were small, fast, and deadly in close-quarters combat, making them the perfect complement to the human forces. The next to respond was a group of mercenaries led by Commander Nira. She was an exiled warlord from a distant star system that had fallen to the Korda Dominion years ago. Her people had been wiped out, and she had sworn vengeance against the empire that had destroyed her home. Nira's forces were highly trained, skilled in everything from ground warfare to advanced space combat. Her personal vendetta made her an incredibly dangerous ally. "We don't forget the things the Korda Dominion has done," Nira said coldly, her face a mask of fury. "But we've been waiting for someone to show the galaxy that you don't have to bow to them. You're the spark. You lead, and we'll follow." The third faction to reach out was a small, neutral system known as the Crescent Reach. It wasn't a military power, but its people had developed advanced technology that could prove invaluable to the human cause. Their engineers had designed cutting-edge weapons and energy shields capable of withstanding even the Korda Dominion's most brutal attacks. "Captain Volkov, we've seen the potential in humanity's struggle," said Dr. Darius Maller, the head scientist of Crescent Reach. "We've been observing from the shadows, and we believe that if humanity stands tall, the galaxy could be forever changed. We're willing to offer our technology and research to aid your cause." With these new allies in tow, Volkov's options had multiplied. The galaxy's elite powers had made one massive mistake: they had pushed too far, and now humanity had the backing of those who had long been oppressed or ignored. But even with these powerful allies, Volkov knew that the real challenge was still ahead. The galaxy was a vast place, and their enemies were many. As the Resolute and its new allies prepared for the next steps, Volkov stood on the bridge, looking out into the stars. A galaxy that had once seemed so vast, so intimidating, now felt just a little bit smaller. They were no longer alone. The Underdogs had found their pack. And the galaxy's elite would soon feel the bite of humanity's rebellion. The human rebellion was no longer a secret. With the backing of powerful factions like the Black Reavers, Commander Nira's mercenaries, and the advanced engineers from Crescent Reach, Captain Arya Volkov's forces had grown stronger. It was time to take the fight to the galaxy's elite, to send a message that humanity would not be crushed under their boot. Volkov stood on the bridge of the Resolute, staring out into the star-filled expanse. Her new allies had given them the tools and resources they needed to strike at the heart of the Corda Dominion. But it was more than just a show of force. This would be their first true test, an operation that could change the course of the rebellion. The target was a key Corda supply station located in the Valtran Nebula. It was heavily guarded, surrounded by 3 Corda warships and a fleet of automated drones designed to protect the supply lines that kept the Dominion's war machine running. Volkov had no illusions. This wouldn't be easy. But it was necessary. If they were going to prove humanity's strength, they needed to hit the Dominion where it hurt. "We have a plan, Captain," Lieutenant Kellen said, walking over to the map on the wall. "With the Black Reavers on our side, we can draw the Corda fleet into the nebula, where their sensors will be scrambled. From there, we can use the mercenaries' ground forces to infiltrate the supply station and sabotage their weapon systems. Crescent Reach's technology will give us an edge in the final stages." Volkov nodded, her mind already working through the details. This operation wasn't just about defeating the Corda Dominion, it was about showing the galaxy that humanity wasn't just a nuisance to be ignored. It was about sending a message to the entire galaxy: the underdogs were rising. "Get to it," she said, her voice firm. "We strike at dawn." The fleet moved into position under the cover of darkness. The Resolute, flanked by the Black Reaver's ships, slipped into the Valtran Nebula. The chaos of swirling gas clouds and ion storms made it impossible for enemy ships to use their sensors, providing the perfect cover for their assault. As planned, the Black Reavers began to engage the Corda fleet, drawing their fire and pulling them deeper into the nebula. Volkov watched as the holographic display flickered, showing the movements of the enemy ships. The Corda didn't expect a fight like this. They had assumed their superior numbers and technology would be enough to crush the humans. What they didn't count on was human ingenuity, how they could take an impossible situation and turn it to their advantage. "We've got them exactly where we want them," Kellen reported, her fingers dancing across the controls. "The Corda are disoriented. Their fleet is split, and their communications are in disarray." "Good," Volkov said. "Let's move in." As the Resolute and the Black Reavers engaged the Corda warships in a fierce battle, the mercenaries and engineers from Crescent Reach took their positions. They had a window of only a few hours before the Corda forces could regroup, and they needed to act quickly. Commander Nera's forces were the first to board the supply station. They moved silently through the corridors, using stealth and precision to plant explosives in key areas. The sabotage was designed to cripple the station's ability to provide reinforcements or deploy weapons. At the same time, Crescent Reach's engineers worked to hack into the station systems. They accessed the station's energy grid, rerouting power to disable the automated defense drones that protected the station. With the drones offline, the humans had a clear path to the station's central command hub. The battle in the nebula raged on. Volkov's heart pounded as she watched the Corda fleet struggle against the speed and unpredictability of the Black Reaver's ships. It was chaos, just the kind of chaos humanity thrived in. On the ground, Nera's forces completed their mission. The supply station's weapons systems were now offline, and the explosives were in place. But just as they were about to make their escape, the Corda forces began to regroup, realizing that something was wrong. "Captain, we've got a problem," Kellen said, her voice tight with urgency. "The Corda warships are converging on our position. If we don't get out now, they'll trap us in the nebula." Volkov's eyes narrowed. This was the moment. They had to escape with their lives, but more importantly, they had to send a message. Humanity wasn't just a target, they were a force to be reckoned with. "Deploy the secondary drones," she ordered. "Get our forces out of there. Full speed ahead." The Resolute's drones launched, creating a cloud of decoy signals that confused the Corda ships, buying enough time for the Resolute and its allies to retreat to safety. As they moved out of the nebula, Volkov took one last glance at the supply station, now crippled and burning. The message had been sent: humanity had struck at the heart of the Corda Dominion. They weren't a joke anymore. They weren't just underdogs. They were warriors, fighters who could bring down the mightiest of empires. The strike against the Korda Dominion supply station was a resounding success, but it didn't come without consequences. The Resolute and its fleet of allies had managed to escape the nebula, leaving behind the debris of a shattered station, but the ripple effects of their attack were felt across the galaxy. Humanity had struck a blow to one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy, and the message had been received loud and clear. The Korda Dominion, humiliated by the loss, wasted no time in retaliating. Their fleet, now reassembled and more determined than ever, was scouring the galaxy for the culprits. In the wake of the attack, they began to tighten their grip on their remaining holdings, increasing their surveillance and military presence in strategic sectors. But the retaliation wasn't just from the Korda. The Orvian Collective, seeing the shifting power dynamics, grew concerned. Their alliances with the Dominion were now under scrutiny, and whispers of rebellion from within their ranks began to stir. What was once a vast and seemingly invincible alliance of the galaxy's elite was starting to fracture. Those who had once underestimated humanity were now forced to reconsider their stance. On the Resolute, the mood was a mixture of elation and uncertainty. The crew and their allies had accomplished the impossible, but they knew the fight was far from over. Captain Volkov stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars, her mind weighing the options ahead. Humanity had made its mark, but now came the hard part, maintaining momentum. If they wanted to keep pushing forward, they needed to do more than just inflict damage, they needed to destabilize the power structures that had controlled the galaxy for centuries. "We can't rest on our laurels," Volkov said, turning to Kellen. "The Korda will retaliate, and they'll bring everything they've got. But we've got the initiative. Now we need to take the next step." Kellen nodded, understanding the gravity of Volkov's words. "We've been getting intel from some of our allies. The Dominion is preparing to launch a full-scale invasion of the neutral systems. They want to crush any signs of rebellion before they spread. But if we strike now, we could cripple their offensive before it even begins." Volkov's eyes narrowed. Striking at the Dominion's plans while they were in the early stages of mobilization would give humanity the edge they needed. But it would require precision, timing, and the cooperation of all their allies. "Prepare the fleet," Volkov ordered. "We strike at dawn." The following days were a blur of preparation. The Resolute and its allies gathered their forces, each faction contributing its strengths to the coming operation. The Black Reavers readied their ships, known for their speed and unpredictability, while Commander Nira's mercenaries honed their skills for a ground assault. Crescent Reach's engineers worked tirelessly, outfitting the fleet with advanced technology to give them an edge against the Dominion's superior firepower. The target was a key military base located on the outer rim of Korda-controlled space, one that was crucial to the Dominion's planned invasion of the neutral systems. If humanity could destroy this base, it would not only delay the Dominion's plans, but it would send a clear message to the galaxy's elite: humanity wasn't going down without a fight. As the fleet made its way toward the base, the tension was palpable. Volkov knew the risks. The Dominion had been embarrassed once, but they would not make the same mistake again. This time, they would be prepared for anything. "We've got a window of a few hours," Kellen said, studying the intelligence reports. "Once we hit the base, the Dominion will send reinforcements. We'll have to move fast." Volkov nodded. "We take out the base, disrupt their command structure, and get out before they can retaliate. We'll need to be in and out before they know what hit them." As the fleet dropped out of hyperspace near the base, the first sign that things weren't going as planned came through the comms. "Captain, we've got a problem," Kellen said, her voice tense. "The Dominion has set a trap. They're expecting us." The fleet was surrounded. Korda warships appeared from the darkness of space, cutting off any escape routes. The ambush was precise, and humanity's forces were caught in a deadly crossfire. "Don't panic," Volkov said, her voice calm but firm. "We've trained for this." She gave the order, and the fleet scattered in every direction. The Resolute darted to the left, using its agility to avoid the initial blast. The Black Reavers led the charge, their ships darting in and out of the Korda fire, drawing enemy ships away from the Resolute and the mercenary ships. Nira's ground forces were already on the surface of the base, planting explosives and cutting off communication lines. The engineers from Crescent Reach worked quickly to hack into the base's security systems, locking down the Dominion's weapons caches. Despite the ambush, the humans fought with the ferocity of cornered animals. They refused to back down, and their tenacity was beginning to show. The Corda fleet, despite its overwhelming numbers, found itself struggling to contain the chaos that humanity had brought. "We're almost there," Kellen said. "The base is almost ours, Captain." "Just a little longer." Volkov glanced at the chaos unfolding around them, knowing that the battle was far from over. But for the first time, humanity was no longer a target. They were a force to be reckoned with. The Dominion's ambush had been ruthless, but humanity's resilience had turned the tables. The Resolute and its allies fought with everything they had, refusing to let the Corda overwhelm them. The space around the base was a chaotic battlefield, with explosions lighting up the dark void and ships darting through the debris, evading the relentless fire from the Corda warships. Inside the base, Commander Nira's mercenaries had done their part. The explosions had destroyed the central command hub, crippling the Dominion's ability to coordinate their defense. The ground forces had set traps and sabotage charges, and Crescent Reach's engineers had hacked into the base's core systems, shutting down its power grid. "We're ready to go, Captain," Nira's voice came through the comms, cool and focused. "The base is crippled. It's only a matter of time before the Dominion realizes they've lost control here." Volkov was about to give the order to retreat when the comms officer spoke urgently. "Captain. Incoming fleet, massive reinforcements are on the way. We've got at least 10 Corda warships dropping out of hyperspace. They're closing in fast." The odds were stacking against them. The human fleet was outnumbered, and the Resolute's allies, though skilled, couldn't hold off an entire Corda fleet on their own. Volkov's eyes flickered over the battlefield, calculating the risks. They couldn't afford to get trapped here. But at the same time, the damage they'd done to the Dominion's base was substantial enough to cripple their plans for the time being. If they left now, the victory would slip through their fingers. "We don't retreat," Volkov said firmly, her voice echoing in the tense silence of the bridge. "We finish this." Her words were like a rallying cry. The crew and their allies, already battered from the ongoing fight, knew what they had to do. The humans were no longer just defending themselves, they were fighting to change the tide of the war. The Corda had underestimated them before, and they would make the same mistake again. This time, humanity would make sure their message was clear. "Lieutenant Kellen, activate the pulse cannon," Volkov ordered. "We've got one shot at this." Kellen didn't hesitate. "Aye, Captain." Pulse cannon activated. The pulse cannon, a new weapon developed by Crescent Reach's engineers, was their last hope. It was a powerful, experimental weapon capable of sending a massive energy wave capable of disabling entire fleets if deployed correctly. The technology was untested in real combat, and there was no guarantee it would work. But in the dire situation they faced, it was their only option. Volkov took a deep breath and watched as the energy levels built up within the Resolute's core systems. She could feel the tension in the air as the crew prepared for the blast. If it worked, the Corda fleet would be paralyzed, giving them the chance they needed to escape. If it didn't, well, it would be their last fight. "Fire," Volkov commanded. The pulse cannon released a brilliant wave of energy, lighting up the battlefield in a blinding flash. The nearby Corda warships were immediately affected, their systems failing as their engines sputtered and shields flickered out. For a few precious moments, the humans had an opening. "Now!" Kellen shouted. "Take them down while they're vulnerable." The Black Reavers wasted no time. With their agility and speed, they darted in and out of the weakened Corda ships, launching missiles and lasers with surgical precision. Nira's mercenaries, now out of the base and aboard their assault ships, joined the fray, targeting the remaining warships with everything they had. Crescent Reach's engineers had outfitted their ships with specialized targeting systems, ensuring every shot counted. For a brief moment, the Korda fleet was on the defensive. Their reinforcements were disoriented, and their ships were unable to return fire with full force. Humanity's underdog tactics, combined with the power of their allies, were proving effective in ways the galaxy's elite never thought possible. "This is it," Volkov said, her eyes steely with determination. "We finish what we started." The final push came when the Resolute, using its agility and advanced systems, took the fight directly to the heart of the Korda flagship. The humans used their knowledge of the flagship's weaknesses, exploiting every vulnerability to disable its weapons and shields. Volkov's tactical brilliance led them to target its critical systems, and after an intense battle, the flagship was left a crippled hulk in space, no longer a threat. One by one, the remaining Korda warships fell. The tide had turned. Humanity had defied the odds again. The Resolute's fleet, alongside their new allies, had struck the Korda fleet a devastating blow, leaving the Dominion reeling. Volkov stood on the bridge, staring at the shattered remnants of the Korda fleet. She knew this battle was only one step in a much larger conflict. The galaxy's elite powers might have underestimated humanity before, but now they had no choice but to respect them. "Prepare for the next phase," Volkov said, her voice resolute. "We've only just begun." The victory at the Korda Dominion's military base had shaken the galaxy to its core. The Korda fleet, once an unstoppable force, lay in ruins, and humanity, once dismissed as insignificant, had dealt a blow that would echo through the galaxy for years to come. But with victory came the harsh reality: this was only the beginning. The Korda, humiliated and furious, would not stop until humanity was crushed. The Resolute and its allies had proven themselves capable of taking on the galaxy's elite, but the war was far from over. In the days that followed, the Resolute moved swiftly, staying one step ahead of the Korda's retaliatory forces. Volkov and her crew had no time to rest. Every moment spent in the shadow of victory was a moment the enemy could use to regroup and counterattack. Volkov sat in her command chair, eyes scanning the reports flooding the bridge. Her mind was focused, as always, on the next move. She had no illusions: the Korda would come for them. But there was an opportunity here, one that could turn the tide of the entire war. "The reports are coming in," Kellen said, walking up to Volkov's side. "We've received messages from the Outer Rim worlds. There's been a massive uptick in rebellion activity across several sectors. It's spreading faster than we expected." Volkov raised an eyebrow. "Is it the Korda's doing? Are they retaliating?" "No," Kellen replied. "It's the opposite. The attacks on the Korda fleet have sparked a wave of resistance. The neutral systems, the ones that the Dominion thought were too weak to fight back, are rising up. Human resistance cells in those sectors are gaining ground." The word struck Volkov like a bolt of lightning. Humanity's fight wasn't just about defending Earth anymore, it was about something larger. The rebellion wasn't confined to just a handful of ships, it was becoming a galaxy-wide uprising. "Have we made contact with the resistance leaders?" Volkov asked, her voice sharp. "Yes, Captain," Kellen replied. "We've connected with a few of their factions. They've requested our assistance, but they also have intel on Korda movements we need to act on. We can't ignore this. If we want to keep the momentum, we need to support them." Volkov considered the implications. The Korda Dominion had always relied on fear and control to maintain their hold over the galaxy. But now, with the spark of rebellion catching fire, they were losing their grip. Humanity wasn't just a thorn in their side, it was the catalyst for something much greater. "Set course for the Arda sector," Volkov ordered. "We'll make contact with the resistance there. Let's show the galaxy that humanity isn't just surviving, we're leading this revolution." The Resolute made the jump to the Arda sector, arriving in a star system far from the watchful eyes of the Korda. Here, in the shadows, the rebellion had taken root. Small fleets of human ships, hidden from the Dominion's radar, had gathered in secret locations. Volkov met with their leaders in the cold, dimly lit halls of a derelict station, an unlikely meeting place for a growing revolution. The resistance leaders were a mix of humans, allies from neutral systems, and even defectors from the Corda's own ranks. They spoke of the devastation the Dominion had brought to their worlds, of the families and friends lost in the wake of the Empire's unchecked expansion. But they also spoke of hope, hope that humanity's boldness would be the spark that ignited a galaxy-wide uprising. "We've seen what you can do," said Commander Solon, one of the resistance leaders. "Your victory over the Corda fleet was a turning point. It gave people hope, hope that the galaxy's elite aren't invincible." Volkov met his gaze with a nod. "But it wasn't just the victory," she said. "It was a message. Humanity has something no one else has, the will to fight when everyone else gives up. The Dominion might think they can crush us, but they underestimate what we're capable of." The room fell silent as the weight of her words settled in. Solon stepped forward, handing Volkov a data pad. "This is the next phase," he said. "We've gathered intel on the Corda's remaining supply lines, including key strategic points where their forces are weakest. If we hit them here, hard, it will cripple their ability to retaliate against the rebellion for good." Volkov studied the map of the Corda's supply lines. It was ambitious, but if they succeeded, it would change everything. They would not just fight for survival, they would be taking the fight to the heart of the Dominion. "We'll hit them here," Volkov said, pointing to one of the vulnerable supply stations on the map. "But we'll need everyone, our allies, your fleets, the mercenaries, and even the defectors. We'll strike at their weakest points and force them to divide their forces." Solon gave a tight smile. "We'll be ready." The next few days were a blur of preparations as the newly formed human resistance fleet, bolstered by their allies, set out for the target. Volkov worked alongside Solon and the other commanders, coordinating their efforts and making sure everything was in place for the assault. The element of surprise would be crucial, they had to hit fast and hard. As they neared the target, Volkov felt the weight of the coming battle. This wasn't just a skirmish anymore, it was the beginning of a full-scale revolution. The Corda might have been elite, but humanity had proven time and time again that it wasn't just a force to be reckoned with. It was an unstoppable wave that would reshape the galaxy. The Resolute moved into position, ready to strike. "This is it," Volkov said, staring out at the target ahead. "We've come this far. We're going to show the galaxy just how strong humanity really is." The time for talk had passed. The Resolute and its fleet of resistance ships, made up of humans and their allies, prepared for the most daring strike of their campaign. The target, a heavily fortified Corda supply station that served as a vital lifeline for the Dominion's war effort. Its destruction would cripple the Corda's ability to wage war, and with it, humanity and the rebellion would have a fighting chance at changing the galaxy forever. The crew aboard the Resolute stood poised, ready for battle. Volkov's mind was sharp, every decision weighing on her, but she knew this was the moment that would define humanity's future in the galaxy. "Captain, all fleets are in position," Kellen reported, his voice steady. "We're ready to execute the plan." Volkov gave him a brief nod, her resolve hardening. "All units, engage on my mark." With a sharp intake of breath, Volkov looked out at the stars. It wasn't just about this battle. It was about what would follow, the dawn of a new era, where humanity, once thought weak and insignificant, stood tall as a force that could no longer be ignored. "Mark!" Volkov's voice rang out across the comms. The fleet surged forward in perfect synchronization. Missiles, lasers, and disruptor beams erupted from the ships, lashing out at the Corda station. The element of surprise worked in their favor, at first. The Corda's defensive systems were sluggish, caught off guard by the sudden onslaught. The rebel fleet, led by the Resolute, tore into the supply station, hitting critical systems and destabilizing the station's energy core. Explosions erupted, sending shockwaves through the station's interior. But the Corda were not the galaxy's elite for nothing. Their remaining forces rallied quickly. Massive warships dropped out of hyperspace, and a counterattack came swiftly, pushing back the rebel fleet. Volkov's eyes narrowed, but she refused to be intimidated. "Captain." Kellen's voice cut through the chaos. The Korda fleet is overwhelming us. We're going to need reinforcements, or we'll lose this position. Volkov's hand clenched into a fist. They couldn't back down now. She turned to Solon, who was standing at the communications console, coordinating with the resistance ships. We're not backing off, Volkov said. Call in every ally we have. We need the full strength of the rebellion. Solon nodded grimly and began transmitting orders. This is Commander Solon to all remaining resistance fleets. We need you now. The Korda are turning the tide. Engage with all forces. For humanity. The battle raged on. The Resolute and its allies, backed by their relentless spirit, kept pushing. The enemy, though formidable, was faced with a force they could no longer ignore. The human fleet, though smaller, fought with a ferocity that was unrivaled. Their ships, nimble and strategically placed, wreaked havoc among the Korda warships. It was then that the tide shifted. A series of precise, coordinated strikes from the rebel fleet led to a catastrophic failure of the Korda station's reactor. The explosion was massive, sending a brilliant burst of light into the void, followed by the shockwave of destruction. The Korda warships were thrown into disarray, and Volkov saw her chance. Now, she shouted. Strike at their weak points. Take down their command ships. We finish this today. The Resolute led the charge once more, flying through the chaos as the final human push shattered the Korda command fleet. Their shields faltered, their weapon systems disabled, and one by one, the Korda ships were reduced to debris. And then, silence. The battlefield was littered with the wreckage of both sides. The Korda had lost their lifeline. The rebellion had succeeded in its most ambitious attack yet. Volkov's breath slowed, her heart still pounding from the intensity of the battle. She stood at the center of the bridge, her crew surrounding her. They had done it. They had defeated the odds once again. This isn't just a victory for us, she said, her voice steady and filled with conviction. This is a message to every oppressed system in the galaxy. Humanity may have started as the underdog, but now we're leading the charge. We're not just fighting for survival, we're fighting for a future. The crew around her erupted in cheers. For the first time in a long while, there was hope, real hope, that they could win this war. But Volkov knew the fight was far from over. The Korda might be reeling, but they would regroup. New threats would rise. But now, humanity stood as a beacon of resistance, a symbol that even the most powerful forces in the galaxy could be defeated by those with the courage to rise up. Humanity's rebellion was just beginning. We'll be ready for whatever comes next, Volkov said, a smile tugging at her lips. As the Resolute and its fleet turned away from the wreckage of the Korda base, the stars stretched out before them. The galaxy was vast, filled with dangers, but now, humanity had a place in it, a place they would defend with everything they had. The Underdogs had not only defied the galaxy's elite, they had become its greatest hope.